Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got James Maxwell Tiley. And boys, we're in the dead of like the off season here. It is, the definition of just kind of scrounging. You got the players are working out. You don't really care to hear about any of that. And, it's tough out here, trying to come up with content. And I feel like the world of college football, it's making it tougher in general. They're trying to take away our spring games. Like, what are we going to do? At least in a couple weeks, we're going to have a spring game to kind of talk about. Like, we might not have the luxury next year, boys. What do we think about spring games potentially going away?
It's really sad because I feel like nostalgia is a big part of college football, but I feel like there's an opportunity here to still do something cool and to, keep your players not getting poached. I think, tell me if I'm wrong, and the Center Scoop kind of talked about this a little bit. What are your thoughts about, how they changed the NFL Pro Bowl to like the Pro Bowl games where they play a bunch of fun games and everything? I would still go to that. I would still straight up go to that to watch, our team play dodgeball and like a skills competition, like outright.
Here's my thing. The thing I love most about spring games is less about the football and more just being in Norman and doing things in the stadium.
Yeah,
And like,
exactly.
that's what I care about. I think that would be a little, I'm not sure how interested I would be. I think a good person to ask about that would be someone from Ole Miss. Ole Miss. I swear to God, this is not a segue into that conversation.
I was like, wow, it's we were gonna do it. I know Ty and I were gonna do it. I was thinking how I was gonna actually have a good segue, but here we go.
No, because Ole Miss did that thing where they kind of didn't do a spring game. They had like a dunk contest, and they're a little different with theirs. And I don't know how successful that was, but I don't know. I think doing something different would be not the worst thing in the world. Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, first it has to be said, right? We're an OU podcast, so we must directly address the Texas thing. Sark saying in part of his explanation for them not playing a spring game, he mentioned the number of games that the team has played. Doesn't make any sense to me. He's like, we've played so many games in the past couple of years. It's, I'm not a medical professional, right? But how much rest do you need? Right, like outside of people who have like legitimate injuries who just don't play in spring games anyways, like are injuries from the previous 2 seasons, like if people still have bruises and stuff that need to heal, like that's probably an actual condition or something that needs to be looked at. So I don't understand the whole sort of load management, so to speak, talking point that he had. It wasn't the only thing he said, but it was just kind of an odd thing for me to throw in there versus other teams just being like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. But yeah, I think it's a tremendous loss for the only people that benefit from the spring game really is the fans. So therefore the only people that lose from a spring game not happening is the fans as well. It's a chance for, like you said, you can get down to Norman, you can get down to Austin if you're a Texas fan, you can get down to, Cleveland or wherever Ohio State plays if you're an Ohio State fan. And see the teams and see them practice and everything else. And yeah, it's not a real game, but that's a fan environment. It's just supposed to be a fun little sort of family activity, fun thing you can do, relatively low cost for a weekend, get some tailgating experience and stuff in. And it just doesn't really make sense to me. But yeah, I think, adopting some sort of game or there has to be some sort of event to center it around. I think you could do maybe a concert and then, like you said, set up a dunk contest or set up just like a basketball thing and even just do like 3-on-3 or something tournament between the players and like half pep rally, half concert, half whatever atmosphere, maybe even open up half the field for sort of a meet and greet at the same time with the players. I don't know. As long as you have some sort of events, I suppose you don't necessarily have to have a scrimmage, but I just don't understand really these talking points that, you can't have these scrimmages because it's super, super low impact on the team itself.
That's just a bad excuse. Everyone knows why they're not doing it. It's because they don't want to get their players poached and get stuff on tape. It's straight up that. It's as everything else it just said is just false.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, the wear and tear that's silly in general because you're scrimmaging anyways.
Oh,
like
plenty of scrimmages.
it's not. Yeah, you're running scrimmages anyways behind closed doors. So that's a bit of a silly excuse for sure. And I think really, like you said, it's about NIL, it's about poaching, all of that, which sucks because I think who it really affects too, like not just fans in general, but fans who can't make it to a lot of regular season games. It's another opportunity for people who, maybe you can't afford to go to, some of those, especially with how packed these, home games have been for OU. You might not be able to go to some of, those SEC level opponents, but you could go see the spring game for $5. And I think that's important to keep more members of the fan base involved. I think at the end of the day, that's what it is. That what all of this is about is keeping folks involved, and maybe a all-star, Pro Bowl games type of thing. I think that could work perhaps to get people down there.
It's all we got, Bobby. At this point, like the spring game's dead.
I mean, the game is dead. I agree.
Yes.
I think a spring activity of some sort is necessary for sure.
It has to. It's a huge revenue loss if we're not going to do something.
And here's my thought process. I think you scrap any football related activities entirely.
Yeah.
Because who nailed this thing? And I don't think nearly enough people in the national scope are talking about this. And I know I'm walking right into a whole, sleeper agent joke here. Oklahoma State nailed it. Oklahoma State, after years of kind of screwing it up and not really having much of a spring game, they redeemed themselves with this Boys from Oklahoma concert series, where they're bringing back Cross-Canadian Ragweed, Turnpike Troubadours, and like a whole, I don't know, just slew of red dirt music. Sold out Boone Pickens Stadium for like 4 or 5 nights, which is unbelievable. And all of the funds are going to NIL. Like, that to me is tremendous. And, hand up, I'm going, like, OU spring game is on that same Saturday. I'm going to that instead. Because
sold out Boone Pickens?
Like 5 times.
All 500 seats?
That is funny. But yes, they did sell out Boone Pickens, which is, honestly more than they normally do for football games. So I don't know. It might have a pretty solid future as a concert venue.
I think that Oklahoma State's in quite a fortunate situation with who they have on hand to do that kind of thing. Because, like people talk about, you would get like Kings of Leon and everything. Do you think we would sell out for a Kings of Leon concert? I don't think so. So I think it's kind of a very, very situational, lucky thing that Oklahoma State has.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Baylor actually ended up getting one of those concerts as well. They're, I believe, doing that in August. I have no idea if it goes to NIL or whatever, but it is a good lineup. And I think it doesn't even have to be specifically folks from, that university. OSU has gotten lucky. If you really look at music, they have a lot of Oklahoma State grads or fans, going from Garth Brooks, Zach Bryan, and obviously Cross-Canadian Ragweed as a pretty big OSU group. OU doesn't have a lot of musicians outside of Kings of Leon. And, at one point you obviously could have said Toby Keith. So maybe you do some sort of concert that's not fully dependent on OU.
Donkey Donk?
Oh, yeah, that was an era. We had a Honky Tonk Badonkadonk. We had Lee Bryce in there. I don't think that did anything for anybody, really. But I don't know. If you make it a legitimate concert, then maybe.
It's really hard to get a concert and an artist that is going to appeal to all age groups. Simple as that. You saw the Super Bowl this year with Kendrick Lamar. Badass. But look at all the old people watching it and being like, what the hell am I watching? Super, super hard, and it's a hard job for people to book something that it's going to appease to everyone that wants to watch OU football. It's not going to be as good as the Oklahoma State product. It's really, I feel like country in an Oklahoma State setting is perfect, and I don't know if Oklahoma's fan base has that kind of cookie cutter in.
And I think what works for Oklahoma State's plan is there are a lot of people going to this who do not care about OSU football.
Of course they do.
They might not even know that their money's going to NIL. They just want to see the concert. So maybe you just focus on that, and you're going to get folks who want to come down OU wise to the show, anything like that. I don't know. But also, just for general public, if you could get like a pretty big band, that could be interesting. I don't know, just spitballing. I feel like that it's a better product if you can find a way to make it work. A music festival, but it's obviously not without its flaws and difficulties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big picture, it's sad. It's sad that we're losing something that we've grown up around. And, the red and white game was like a staple for a lot of people, a lot of kids growing up in the Oklahoma area of going to the game, getting the autographs, meeting the players. Things have changed a little bit, and some things have been fun. Some things have been worse. We had some funny eras, obviously, with the honky tonk, badonky donk. But things are going to change, and I'm sure there's going to be something to take its place, and we just got to wait and see. Is that going to be putting the hot dog eating competition on the big screen and 50-yard line? I'll be for it.
The main event. Yeah, Jameson, you can come back. It'll be a big deal, big homecoming for you.
I'll need a train for that one. Now that I know that the depth of the wiener of a Schwab dog, I need to
it was less about the length and more about the girth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyways, that being said, if it was a higher stage, the guy who you went up against probably would kick your ass again.
So on the topic, you got anything to say about Mary Kate from Ole Miss?
I don't even know the story. I don't know if
later in the podcast we'll have to loop Bobby into the whole thing. I'm still frustrated about the spring game thing, really.
Yeah, we might have to put that into we might need to just create a paywall just to talk about that.
It's a developing story.
Yeah, that sounds really sketch. Let's move on. What do you guys think about Seth Littrell joining the offensive staff at Tennessee? I know Bobby, noted Tennessee sympathizer over here, has some thoughts on that.
I think it's hilarious.
What's he gonna? Is he gonna be a janitor? Is he gonna be a?
They didn't say explicitly.
Is he gonna be working the booth, bringing people their beers during the games?
I would think it's gonna be an offensive analyst situation, and on one end, I think it's it depends on I think the offensive analyst thing can mean multiple things. Was Littrell a good offensive analyst when he was at OU? Probably a better analyst than he was an offensive coordinator. That's for damn sure. But so I don't think it tanks Tennessee, or by any means. I think it's nice to have another voice in the room, I guess, whatever. But if they do roll, I'm not ready for the, you shouldn't have fired Seth Littrell things that, that fan base may or may not
really
spin
going to
up.
be a conversation.
I don't know, man. These people...
How the hell are they going to attribute their success to an offensive analyst? I think that's just paranoia sinking in.
When they
brought up Joey Halsley as he's like, oh, Joey Halsley's returning to OU. Man, what? Anyways,
I'm not buying into a lick of it. It's so minuscule, it doesn't even matter. Honestly, it's just Seth Littrell gets another hire based off of his history and who he was with in the past, and good for him.
Yeah, it's his old buddy Josh giving him a job. That's fine. Hopefully he can use it to turn the career around. I think he did great things at North Texas. Obviously, that last stop at OU was a disaster, but as Heupel's shown, he can turn things around with another chance. So I don't know. Ty, do you have any thoughts on this?
It's certainly not a negative thing, and not to jab at OU's current staff or anything, right? But he clearly was in over his depth at North Texas, came to OU, and he was already out of his depth and needed some adjustment, right? He wasn't going to learn from anyone offensively at OU. So it's, again, I don't really know what we were expecting versus going to Tennessee, right? There's a ton of room for him to learn and learn Josh Heupel's system and try to figure out maybe some adjustments to what he sees as right and create, a better future for his career in college football. That just wasn't going to happen at OU because it was the OU OC position is a position like our current guy. You need to already be good, to fill that spot when you don't have anyone offensive minded above you. So it's like, in retrospect, what in the world were we thinking? We saw that this wasn't working. So yeah, awesome that he's going there, and hopefully, he does bounce back.
Yeah, for sure.
Just not to Norman.
I was about to say, what do you mean by bounce back?
I'd take him as our head coach, but that's for
God. That's a bit, folks. That's a bit. That is, oh God. We need just like a giant like sign that just says bit alert, because that's a bit. But no,
I don't know that I'm gonna do it. It just happens.
Yeah, it happens. That's why we need a button, like ready at any time.
You want it to be like a radio station where like you can just like press things and it goes like a toilet flushing whenever Ty says something like that.
like a tiger growls. There's like a trumpet noise.
Sad trombone.
You're listening to the Schooner Pod. Those memes where it's like all the different crazy sounds, and it's like you're listening to extreme rock hits, only the most extreme music, and then it's like Imagine Dragons starts to play.
God.
I'd be down for that.
I know you're an Imagine Dragons guy, Jameson.
Of course, I love them. And my most played song for a while was Natural. Gets me hyped every single Saturday.
That's good off season. We need to rank college football and ESPN intro songs or season songs, because
it's such a niche thing.
Yeah, they've
not
got,
if you're a college football fan. It's not.
That's fair.
I don't think it's that esoteric at all.
So my problem with that is not the idea, but the fact that ESPN
you're worried about the
is
copyright.
kind of...
we just do our own live rendition of each song.
Of course, yeah.
I can do it.
That's fair use. No, okay, no. We're good. We don't need we don't need the like 10-minute intro to that song. The bigger issue is that ESPN has been less interesting with them. I feel like they've been, I don't know, like Jelly Roll was.
They've gone away from Imagine Dragons, is what you said.
I don't even remember what Jelly Roll song was.
The last one was like a cover of "In the Air Tonight."
No, that's Monday Night Football. That's the new Monday Night Football song because it has Snoop Dogg.
That's right.
it's Chris Stapleton doing "In the Air Tonight," and then Snoop Dogg shows up for some reason, and then that's what it is.
I guess that's what it was. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that was also lame.
And honestly, if anything hammers my point home that ESPN music's gotten boring, it's that you mix the two up.
Yeah,
I will say. Go ahead.
Yeah, no one can forget. Do you believe you can walk on water?
Do you believe that you can win this fight tonight?
That was number one.
Yeah, Centuries by Fall Out Boy. That was an earworm for the college football playoff. Mm. Because they played it every single commercial break.
What was the Nelly
song? The very first one. The what?
The Nelly
song. Yeah, the champion of the world or whatever.
Yes.
Today is my day.
What was the Taylor Swift song that lasted 2 weeks?
It was it did last 2 weeks. It was Are You Ready for It? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that didn't get a fair shake because in retrospect, I think it's better than the last couple of years.
It's actually like a hit song of hers. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It immediately followed the Imagine Dragons dynasty.
Right.
It's kind of like Bama's current coach. So yeah, he's not terrible, but it's like following the best to ever do it, buddy.
Are you trying to say that Taylor Swift is the Kalen DeBoer of artists here in this? That's so. Look,
that is why coaches are overrated, Ty.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I will say this is we fought with the Tennessee fans last season. It should be a personal goal of ours during this offseason, since we're a little tired, a little bored, to fight. Let's find a way to fight the Swifties. What could go wrong?
Please don't.
You're probably done with football at the moment.
Well, yes, that is true. That is true. Golly, I know we talked about the realignment stuff last pod. Of adding more playoffs or teams to the playoff, adding an extra game to the SEC schedule. So I know
we're
that's kind of
adding
what
more teams to the playoff.
Yeah, Ty. So look, the SEC and Big Ten want to add,
Awesome.
want to
Okay.
either expand it to 14 or 16, and then have a couple automatic qualifiers. So we've already talked about that. But Ty, do you have a take on that?
Yeah. The playoff is already too big.
I don't disagree.
Wrong.
I like 8, but like 12.
I think that you need to give people a bye who deserved it.
Who deserves it though?
The top 4 teams.
The top 4 teams I could get behind, but that's not the current system.
Well, and that's why it needs to change.
You got to kill the automatic qualifiers of like winning your conference. You get automatic top 4.
If you are going to do 8 teams, you can't. You have to give those someone buys for their, because then it makes it like, what's the difference between the team that skipped their conference championship who made it in versus the team that went to the conference championship? So I think 8 is just does not make any sense. This is not March Madness where you got a number 1 seed and you get to like go past a 16 seed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do agree with that. You gotta sort it out. Look, hey, I gotta say, OU basketball though. Speaking of
are you buying in, Bobby?
Am I? I don't know. I don't think I'm buying in on any.
That is not an answer I was expecting to hear.
Look, so right after we did that show, they got clobbered by Florida, but you got to give them credit. They gave so much fight back in that Mississippi State game. Teeth falling out, like just duking it out.
Wild.
You got to give them Duke Miles. You got to give him credit. That was a gritty win.
I thought he could have gotten to that ball. It's sad that he didn't even get it either. Like he just shattered his, and that was a lot of teeth. Have we seen anything yet about how many teeth? Like, is some like OU dentistry gonna like pipe up and give them like veneers now? So like, I need to know.
Yeah, have you seen the picture of like them falling out like in the middle of the photo? It's wild.
Yeah, I remember I was watching it live and I was just like aghast. Like, I could not believe it.
Wait, this is an interesting question. Can like a school like OU dentistry, can they give NIL? I guess maybe they kind of can now, like, because that would be like a pretty damn good like collaboration right there, You're
gonna make the OU dental students do the repair on Duke Miles?
No, like the school. I don't know. I'm sure the students are fine.
There's no way a school would give any money to the OU NIL.
No, it'd be like, I don't know, regurgitating within. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, so I'm guessing
there's got to be some private dentistry in Norman or OKC that's fixed them up. There's no doubt in my mind.
Oh, no doubt. But anyways, Jameson, so where we're at right now, where are you feeling about the Sooners' chances of making the tournament? Do you I don't want to say like, do you want them to make the tournament or not? Because
of course I want them to make the tournament.
Of course you want them to make the tournament. I agree. But I don't know. What do you think? Where do you think the Sooners stand right now?
We're last 4 in on Joe Lunardi's bracketology, which is pretty damn good. And I understand we got burned by that in the past, and like we've been in on the day of Selection Sunday, and we get our bubble bust. And let me tell you something. I feel like that if we're on the bubble, we are a pretty damn good candidate to get our bubble busted, unless we really change what we have seen from what the eye test is showing in this basketball team near coming into March, because the eye test from February is putrid. The reputation around the program is putrid, and one game versus Mississippi State is not going to change that. Whenever we play Kentucky tomorrow night at home, that's got to be close. If we lose by double digits, just wave goodbye. I don't care if we go out and beat Ole Miss on the road or we beat Missouri. Like, we need those big games versus like Kentucky. We need to show out in that game. That either needs to be a close loss, and then we squeak out the last 3 in March, which I think is very doable, or we win that game.
Yeah. So there are 4 games.
It is a quality loss mention. Thank you.
It is necessary. Yeah. It's 4 games left. You got Kentucky at Ole Miss, Missouri at home, and then Texas. So I think there are 2 things really just kind of about this is one, you have one road win the entire season. That's not ideal. Yeah, and it was Arkansas. So you have one road win all season in conference in anywhere. That's not ideal. So Ole Miss is pretty vital. I'm with you. I'm not bullish on them beating Kentucky. The Wildcats are only favored by 2.5,
which is absolutely ridiculous. And I understand a lot of people said that about the line for Mississippi State, but still, really, is that what you think?
It's Kentucky. I mean, I think that's ultimately the difference there is, well, Mississippi State has been a solid basketball team. Same with Vanderbilt back then, a couple weeks ago. They're not exactly blue bloods. Kentucky is the bluest of blue blood in college basketball. They're used to this environment. They're probably not used to the environment because it's going to be so light typically. But to me, I feel like that feels like a fishy ass line, and I would not take it. I don't know, but this OU team has surprised us before.
Don't bet if you're an Oklahoma fan, just stop betting on Oklahoma basketball. Like it's going to piss you off either way.
Yeah. I was in Las Vegas and I didn't even touch it.
I don't. And also, this is another just off topic for people who sports bet. Like, I will never, ever, ever put money against Oklahoma because why? Why would you want to have something like steering you away from being like, oh, if Oklahoma loses, that's okay, right? It's like a hedge. That's stupid. But the only time I'll ever bet my own team is if I feel like I know something Vegas doesn't, and I've got like a little like maybe this line isn't right. I should just slam Oklahoma because there's an injury that they probably don't know from the boards or something like that. I don't understand if people bet their own teams. Yes, Ty?
Hypothetically speaking, right? Completely in a vacuum, hypothetical. If I were to bet, and I don't bet, but if I were to bet against OU in a sports game, if OU loses, at least I win some money. If OU wins, then OU wins, that's great, and then I lose some money. If I'm an OU fan and I donate to the athletics department and that money goes to Brent Venable's salary, I lose either way. So it's like, why wouldn't I bet against OU?
No, Ty,
because if I give the money to OU, they're just going to give it to Brent Venables, who's going to cause OU to lose, and then I'm not going to make any money either. So it's like,
Ty, think about it this way: you're just paying for his eventual buyout.
Can you earmark? Right? Is that a thing? We need to get like an anonymous donor on sometime and see if we can earmark.
Bobby and I talked about tanking, if that's even a thing in today's NIL era. If like you can just be like, you know what, I appreciate the money. Can we just like let it ride and just see what happens next season and then just ball out the following season?
What do you mean tanking is in like we
do not allocate as many funds as we have available this coming season.
I don't think that's what tanking means.
And essentially
financially tanking.
It is kind of. It kind of is though.
Yeah.
We put our team in a position to where
we're down 7 in the first quarter and we're victory formationing.
Not that, because players and teams don't tank. The management tanks. So, like, you see NBA and NFL organizations, more easily to see in basketball than that of football. But, the NBA, for example, will not sign a 7-foot big man for a team. And then they roll out their team and they just get clobbered on the boards over and over and over. That's, management putting them in a worse position. Now, if today in NIL era, if Oklahoma basketball, and once this is 2 weeks in a row talking about this, I understand this, were to say, hey, we have X amount of money for this season. Let's not use all of that, understanding that we might not be the best this season. And then we have more next season and we go out and we just destroy the transfer portal and we just come in and we have a competitive fun team.
Yeah.
Isn't essentially that actually what LSU does?
I mean, LSU is
for football.
Could be, honestly, it could.
Like it seems like they do.
I'm sure there's teams that do something to that, but not on like the extreme black and white version of it's either like nothing and then it's something. I'm sure there's a little bit of like, I don't really see your money being worth it this year, how about you hold on to that and then you can get us next season?
LSU waits for a national title to be in New Orleans, and then they throw all their chips in and just go for it.
A couple years before, because you gotta spool it up a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to get Burrow in to have a decent season, and then
that
do
was
the
wild.
next year.
Yeah. They did not think Burrow was going to be Burrow, but that's not for today.
Yeah.
Big picture, Bobby. Getting back to Oklahoma.
Coach O spots talent. He could be at a gas station getting gas, right? He can spot someone who works out.
He's got better talent.
Somebody who works out.
Hey,
he's really good at recruiting.
Coach O did have a stint at Ole Miss, didn't he?
He did. He did have a stint at Ole Miss. There's a really good car commercial where he's selling Hummers during his Ole Miss tenure. Yeah. Well, just imagine Coach O saying the word Hummer. Like, it's great.
You know what they say about Hummers?
I want you with a Hummer. I need to pull this up. This is great podcasting.
While Bobby's pulling that up, you have to assume with the Ole Miss situation that Kiffin's on that. Kiffin he's on that if he wasn't already.
Kiffin's got daughters. He's getting nervous.
Jesus. Okay, hold on. Go ahead.
I don't know what I was gonna say. I think we're cutting off the Oklahoma basketball talk. Sorry if y'all were looking for something more here. I think this whole podcast we really wanted to talk about the Ole Miss situation.
Honestly,
just go look it up. Just go look it up and just figure out. Just type in Ole Miss into Twitter. Just figure it out. Oh, here he is. Look at that. Look at that man. What happened to Ed?
Hey, I'm Coach O. I just love my Hummer. I believe the Hummer is the best vehicle on the road. Big, tough, aggressive, and it represents everything that we want at Ole Miss. I have my Hummer. You need a Hummer. Tell them about it, JoJo.
Mississippi, they are here. The new Rogers Dabbs 8.
I like that. That's pretty good.
I don't know if everyone's going to get this reference, but the scene of him driving is almost like frame for frame identical to the scene from Breaking Bad where Hank is having like a mental breakdown in his car.
It's like Speedy.
A meth dealer, and then he drives through the fence and falls out of his car and like passes out. I don't know if we can play that on the podcast for copyright reasons, but please go look on your own time. Look up the Coach O Hummer ad and then watch that scene from Breaking Bad and tell me it's not frame for frame.
Okay, now I want to take... I need to take the audio from the background of the Hummer ad and put it in with a Breaking Bad scene where you get the, like, I don't know, digital, I don't know, it sounded like a banjo in the background. I don't know. And you know, one thing I forgot about that ad until I pulled it up is the cut of where it goes, "Tell them about it, JoJo." Oh, it's gorgeous. What an ad. What an ad.
Final prediction, Bobby. OU making the tournament?
I mean, wait, they're gonna get bubbled.
Yes or no.
They're gonna get bubble bounced. They're not making it. I just know it's gonna happen. If they beat Kentucky, then if they beat Kentucky, yeah, I'm in, because that would be a miracle. That'd be a court storm, all of that. But barring that, I'm out. I mean, last week we had a video where we asked if the program was dead. One win against Mississippi State's not going to flip that for me.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of people that are turning the tides. I'm good. I'm happy for them. We'll see.
Yeah, and like I know like Lenardi still has them in. I know a lot of he's had them in every single time they've gotten bounced. I'm not sold because I think the committee could watch basketball and see teams that get blown out by 30 on a regular basis are not worthy of making the tournament. That's just kind of what it is, regardless of how good your resume has been. So, yeah. But look, I will say there are OU teams that are very worth paying attention to right now. OU baseball is phenomenal. I don't know if I know that's one of those things that's really difficult to follow, especially if you're not in Oklahoma, just in general. But that weekend at Round Rock, where you beat number 7 Oregon State and number 2 Virginia,
big time.
That's big time. And I gotta say, yeah, like the Witherspoon twins, just an incredible pitching staff. This is legit, and I feel like you can look at a non-conference like basketball and be like, whatever, Baseball, if you beat two teams like that back to back, you're damn good. So I think that's a team that's I think is Omaha level good. So get out to the ballpark. A lot of people showed up to the game tonight against Texas Southern. I saw like 2K for a 4 p.m. First pitch. It's pretty good. Let's keep building that up.
Weather's pumping up right now too.
Oh my God.
So it's time for baseball and softball.
Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. Might have to make a trek out to the ballpark and do a 999. I don't know.
Just cuz.
Just cuz. I didn't lose anything, so.
And
then softball's good as always.
Can I say real quick on baseball? This is like 100% off topic, but we're playing a team here next week called CSUN, which is Cal State Northridge. They're the Matadors, and check out this mascot.
Ooh,
that is sick.
That's slick.
That is awesome. The Matadors, love that. You never know in baseball. I've never heard of this university before, but they could be good. Probably not, but amazing logo.
Yeah, and that is an incredible logo. But the home slate's really cool too. You got Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas, of course. LSU coming to town is going to be enormous. That's going to be just an awesome weekend. Like you got I believe 4 of the previous. I think it's 4 of the previous 5 national championships coming to Norman, or champions coming to Norman. So you get to see some Titanic matchups. That's worth your time for sure. And then softball is once again tremendous. Number 1 in the country already after being picked 3rd to start the year. So Ella Parker, keeping it rolling. We're really in just a diamond sports revolution right now here in Norman. So it's tremendous times. But all right, fellas, I think that's just about all we have for today. What was there anything else on our docket?
No, I'm surprised
of scraps. Yeah, honestly, we cruised. Look at that. So I don't know. We'll keep working through the off season. At some point, I'm sure. Honestly, at some point, we might start talking about the Thunder. Honestly, at this point, just sneak in a couple Thunder episodes. So if you see that pop up and you aren't a Thunder fan, just ignore it. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, for me, Jameson and Ty, this has been the Schooner Pod. We'll see you next time, everybody. Until then, good luck out there. Nope, that's my sign up for the weekend spread. Boomer Sooner, everybody. All right, anyways, so tell me about